Hi everyone. Today's lesson is going to be on rates. And a rate is a comparison of two different units, usually of measurement. It doesn't have to be measurement. It could be, let's say, I have 500 pencils to supply my 6th grade math students, and there are 30 students. How many pencils would that be per student? So students and pencils aren't really measurements, but they're units, is what we would call them, of comparing to each other. So a rate, when we look at a rate, we want to think about how do I make that into a mathematical strategy so I can solve it. And the way we can think of a rate is it's a fraction. So if I have a rate of, I'm going to go 50 miles per hour down the road, that's a rate. And how do I change that into a fraction? Think of everything you have here and just turn it into a numerator and denominator. So the 50 can go as my numerator. And what does per hour mean? It means 1. So 1 hour would go here. So there's my fraction that I would talk about as a rate, from the rate to a fraction. Now the next step I want to always think about after I have this turned into a fraction is putting my units of measurement, or a unit, whatever it might be, along with that number. So what goes along with the 50 is the miles. So I always want to have that right behind it. And what we're going to do is this comparison. I'm going to compare this to what else I want to find out, my unknown. So I'm going to think about equivalent fractions here. So that's what that equal sign is there. So above it will be one unit, and below it will be the other unit of the same level. So the 50 miles goes in a level, and then this 1, what was the 1 per hour? So that goes here as my other unit. Now what's going to happen here is that I'm going to have an equivalent fraction equal to this rate fraction. And so if I'm comparing things, I probably know one of those two units. So my word problem here is, if I go 50 miles per hour, how long would it take me to go 250 miles? So that's my question that I present. If I go 250 miles, well, how long is it that it's going to take me going 50 miles per hour? So what do I know? What don't I know depends on my units here at that level of what I know or don't know. Let's think of what I don't know, or what am I asking? How long will it take to go that distance? My distance is 250 miles. I want to know how long will it take to go that distance. How long? Oh, that's in time. So which one is time? Hour. So there's my variable, my unknown. I don't know what that is, but I do know what my distance was, or the miles, and that's 250. So now I have built this equivalent fraction look, and what I call that is a rate format, because a rate format is always going to be two fractions that are equal to each other. They have the equal sign between them. And how we solve a rate format is cross multiplying. And cross multiplying is a video that Mrs. Hall and I have already set up that you can watch and review what cross multiplying is. But at this point, doing rates, I hope we know what cross multiplying is to solve a rate, or this problem that was formed by a rate format. So what we're going to do is then multiply across 1 times 250, and then take that product and divide by 50. So 1 times 250, 250, and then I want to divide that by 50. And that's going to get me this answer. So 250 divided by 50 should be 5. And so how long did it take me to go 250 miles? Going 50 miles per hour would be 5 hours. So comparing different units is what we call this rate. So we'll take a step back here and look at what we call this rate format. And we'll give other examples here. A rate format is this look. Every time I'm going to have two fractions that are equal to each other, or equivalent fractions. And so I have the division sign of the fraction, what separates the numerator from the denominator, and this equal sign. Every time, every rate can be solved in this manner, and then doing cross multiplying. So that rate format is those three symbols. And then I plug in things to that rate format. So as I talk about rate format, that's what I'm referring to, is those two equivalent fractions. So let's say I read 15 pages per day. There's my rate. I'm comparing pages to days. Two units being compared. So I want to know, my question is, if I have a 300-page book, how long will it take to read it? Okay, so my rate, 15 pages per day. Question is, if I have a 300-page book, how long will it take to read that book? So again, break it down in steps. Take your rate and turn that into a fraction. So what's going horizontally here? Turn vertically. So this 15 pages, have your label go right along with that first number. See how I just took that and put it right down here. And put your fraction division symbol there. And then what's the other part that is being compared to 15 pages? Per day. Per meaning one. So 1 day. So now I just took that rate and went vertical with it. Always keep it together as one fraction. And then my equal sign comes into play here. And then the rate format says I need another fraction equivalent to this fraction. So with the 15 pages per day, now I go to my word problem and say, okay, what do I know, what don't I know, or what do I want to find out? So what is it I want to find out? How long will it take? That's measuring time. So which one is the time? It's the day, so there's my variable. And then what do I know is that other number that I can plug in, and I know it's 300 pages. So the 300 goes there. Now I can always plug in that first. Okay, what do I know? Okay, it's the pages. And then what I don't know is that variable. So there's always one unknown in that rate format of those two fractions. And then I just simply cross multiply. 1 times 300 is 300. Divide by 15, and that calculation would be n equals 20, or 20 days is my answer. I answered this problem. How long would it take me to read 300 pages? 20 days. By doing this rate, plug in things I know or don't know, cross multiply, and I can get to my answer. Okay, let's try another one. This is a very common one for adults when they take trips and vacations. Let's say that I want to go on a trip that is 1,500 miles. So taking a trip going 1,500 miles. I know the car that I'm going to take on this trip gets 30 miles to the gallon. 30 miles to the gallon. So if I have this rate, miles being compared to gallons, then I can build this rate format and figure out how many gallons, how many dollars, if I know gas is $2 a gallon, how many dollars will I need just to drive in this trip. So if I'm taking a trip going 1,500 miles, and we're assuming that's round trip to get back again, but 1,500 miles, that is part of my problem. But this is right here, my rate. That's the one I want to build into a fraction. So again, 30 miles, copy it all down. Everything that's here practically goes into that fraction. And then I can draw here, and I can even put that under the equal sign if I want to, but I have the 30 miles here, 2, and that's sort of like the equal sign, the gallon. The, or per, means 1 again, and then gallon is my unit. And remember, I always want to keep it the same level. That's why these units are so important to write down. If you don't put those there, you'll trip and get numbers in the wrong place over here a lot of times. So always remember, big important thing, remember to put the labels there. So I have 30 miles per gallon. It's all there. It's as one fraction, went horizontal to vertical. And now I go back to the question, taking a trip going 1,500 miles. The question is, how many gallons will that be? And then I would have another step. If it's $2 a gallon, I'd have to figure out how many dollars that is. But we just want to find out the gallons first. So how many gallons will that be? Well, there's my variable. And then 1,500 goes into here because that's with my miles. This is with my gallons. So again, cross multiply. 1 times 1,500 is 1,500 divided by 30. And I would get about, do the math here. Oops, excuse me. 5. Looks like it would be 50 gallons it would take to go that distance. So 50 gallons of gas to go 1,500 miles. So that would help anybody in a logical situation of knowing how to do a rate, that they could figure out the dollars they need to take this vacation and the expenditure of how much gas they will need to go that far. So rates are very practical. We've used them already this year for different things that we've been doing in math, but now we're sort of just, this is your first lesson in this unit, we're going to use it all the time. So hopefully you'll get better and better at this, of doing rates and understanding some basic things. Once I have a rate, turn it into a fraction, always remember your labels, and then what do I know or don't know goes into that second fraction, and then cross multiply, you will get answers. So work at these, go to your journal pages if that's been assigned, and I believe on page 288, if we haven't been there yet, that's cross multiplying. And I believe that I really didn't have an assignment set for practicing rates. So if you do have your journal, you can find a page that talks about that, and then you can, it would be around the 288 page. Find some problems in there and you can work some. And otherwise, come to class, our next class, after you've watched this video. We're going to practice a lot with rates and do a lot with them as this unit goes on. Go for it. Good luck.